Hi everyone, my name is Carissa and today is Tuesday, which means it's time to discuss our book of the week, which is The Atlas 6 by Olivie Blake. First, this is a spoiler-free section, so if you haven't read this book yet, don't worry about it, it won't be spoiled for you here. There will be some spoiler-related things that I want to discuss, but that'll be later on in the video, and you will get plenty of warning. If you'd like to join in on any of the book discussions, send me your thoughts, comments, or even a short video clip of you discussing the book, then I'll list the next upcoming 4 books in the description below. I just want to start this off by saying earlier on in the year, I felt like I was rating books too highly and that maybe I should be more critical when I'm rating books. However, these last few weeks, I have not been rating books high at all. I don't know if it's me and I've just not been in the mood for them, or perhaps the books just weren't for me, but the beginning of the year started off great, and now I've just had the last few weeks have been full of books that I've not really enjoyed that much. So it's safe to say that I no longer feel like I'm rating books too highly. I've been hearing about the Atlas 6 everywhere. It seems to be one of those super hyped up dark academia fantasies that everyone is obsessed with, and naturally I was really curious. The cover is gorgeous and the premise seemed right up my alley. It's a group of exceptionally gifted magicians who are all competing to be a part of this secretive society. It sounded like it should have been a 5-star read, but in reality, the book fell a little flat for me personally. I ended up rating it 1 star, not because of bad writing or because I couldn't see why other people would enjoy it, but I just genuinely couldn't connect with it in any way. I just struggled to pay attention and I found myself getting bored, and I never once felt invested in the characters or the outcome. For a book that's meant to be tense, twisty, and full of intrigue, it was just a big miss for me. Okay, so quick summary. Every decade, this secret society selects 6 of the most talented magicians in the world to compete, but the catch is only 5 of them will make it through. The Atlas 6 follows the latest group of initiates as they navigate shifting alliances, rivalries, and the heavy burden of what's at stake. If I was to compare this to any other book, I would probably say like a very PG version of Zodiac Academy. It hasn't got any of that spice or the same high drama. But it does have that same focus on gifted characters who are often very unlikable as they navigate power struggles in an academic setting. It also reminds me a little bit of One Dark Window, just in the sense that it also leans into the atmosphere and the slow burn tension. But where One Dark Window had this immersive pull and characters that I actually cared about, the Atlas 6 just didn't land the same way for me. This was probably the biggest downside for me, but each chapter was from a different character's perspective, and I'm already not a great fan of multiple POVs. I find that it can make it harder to connect with if you're bouncing constantly between voices, and in this case, none of the characters stood out and it didn't really give me anyone to root for. They were all morally grey, arrogant, and self-absorbed, and that can work if there is depth and complexity to balance it. Instead, they just sort of felt flat and almost interchangeable, so when I picked the book up again after a short break, I would have to remind myself who was who. For a story with such high stakes, it felt oddly slow, like it often dragged, and I don't know, it just kind of felt like not much happened. Like I just found myself zoning out or skimming, and that tension that should have been building just never really seemed to happen. This book seems really popular on TikTok and Instagram, so I think I was expecting this clever, twist-filled page-turner, and instead I just felt like I ended up in this boring lecture about characters that I didn't particularly like. And to be totally honest, that mismatch between expectations and reality is probably what drove my rating down so low. So as for the question, would I recommend the book? For me, no, I would not recommend the Atlas 6 unless you're the type of reader who absolutely loves multiple perspectives, repetitive tangents, and a very slow burn storytelling. But if you're looking for fast-paced, character-driven, or a strong, emotionally engaging dark academia novel, then I do think there are stronger books out there. So will I be reading any more by this author? Honestly, probably not. While I can see that they're quite ambitious with their world building and ideas, their writing style and focus just isn't for me. Like, if she publishes something wildly different, then I might be curious enough to sample it. However, the Atlas 6 was enough to tell me that her books probably aren't my taste. So earlier on in the video, I said that you would get plenty of warning for any upcoming spoilers. This is that moment, so if you haven't read this book yet, I would suggest going and doing that first, because beyond this point, there will absolutely be spoilers. The whole one of them won't make it through thing should have been a huge source of tension, but instead I found it incredibly underwhelming. Like, these really repetitive conflicts that they kept having never escalated to the point where I felt like someone's spot was on the line or someone was at risk. Like, when secrets and betrayals were revealed, I was never really shocked or cared because I wasn't really invested in any of the characters. I think it tries to be quite morally complex with discussions on knowledge and power and control, but instead the execution just felt quite shallow. Instead of diving deep into those themes, it felt like it just sort of skimmed the surface, and it was full of bad and repetitive dialogue that made me feel distant rather than engaged. And with that ending, I don't know, it didn't leave me desperate to want to pick up the next book. Instead, it just confirmed that this series isn't for me. I think the Atlas 6 is just one of those books that you'll either click with or you won't. Like I said, if you absolutely love slow burn storytelling with multiple perspectives, then you might absolutely adore this one. But for me, it was slow, flat, and ultimately boring. I couldn't connect with the characters, the pacing dragged, and the hype just set expectations that the book couldn't deliver on. I don't know, it just wasn't for me, and overall I'm pretty happy with my 1-star rating. But let me know what you thought. Did you enjoy the book? Next week we'll be discussing Not In My Book by Katie Holt, so don't forget to get your thoughts and comments in by Sunday the 21st of September at the latest to be a part of the discussion. You can now do this on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram or Discord. The following week will be Funny Story, but don't forget if you do need a little bit longer to read a book, we do now list the next 4 books down below, along with the discussion dates. That way you can choose the genre that best suits you, and the best time frame to read it in. Thank you all for joining, and if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, it's always appreciated, and I will see you next week. Bye! If you like romance, fantasy, or even thriller, basically anything fiction book related, then I suggest you head on over to the channel's intro video, where you can find out more information on how you can take part in this online book club. We announce books at least 4 weeks in advance, and we accept your bookish feedback in a wide manner of ways. Post your comment below video, send in a voice note, or even send me a short video clip of you discussing the book. Alternatively, you can just send me a direct message.